What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Pitching Ninja's filthiest pitches of the day. Remember, before we get to those pitches, hit that subscribe button. Join Ninja Nation. Be a part of the biggest and best daily baseball show on YouTube. And now, without further ado, here are my filthiest pitches of the day. I'm going to start with Tanner Bybee, who had 4 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 2 runs. He had this elevated fastball and this curveball for a sword. He faced Sonny Gray, who had 4 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had these fastballs as well as these nasty sweepers. Clayton Kershaw had 3 strikeouts in 5 innings, giving up 3 runs. He had this slider and slow, beautiful Cooperstown curveball. Here's an overlay of his fastball and curveball, and you can see why he can get away with a fastball that isn't all that fast. His tunneling with his elevated fastball and his curveball, as well as his lower fastballs and his sliders, still makes it hard to time up his fastball even without top-end velo because it's tunneled so well and hitters basically still have to guess. And the longer the pitches tunnel, the less time a hitter has to make a decision. Kershaw battled Jesus Luzardo, had 6 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 2 runs. He had these fastballs and sliders, and his slider was particularly wicked. He had his elevated slider as well as this quick pitch slider, another way to throw a hitter's timing off. Dylan Cease had 7 Ks in 5 1/3 innings. He did give up 4 earned runs and had these wicked sliders. Cease's ERA is right about 5, and that's definitely not the year we were expecting out of Dylan. Bryce Miller had 2 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 1 run. He got Ks on this fastball and changeup, and he faced Connor Phillips, who's number 4 on the Reds' top prospect list. And he had 7 strikeouts in 4 2/3 innings, but gave up 5 earned runs. He had this 98-mile-an-hour fastball, this fastball for a sword, this sweeper, and curveball. And I thought he looked like a pretty talented arm. Miles Michaelis had 2 Ks in 6 2/3 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had this nasty slider. He outdueled Michael Soroka, who had 6 Ks in 3 innings, giving up 5 runs, and had these fastballs. Jose Quintana had 4 Ks in 7 innings, giving up 1 run. He had this painted sinker right at the bottom of the zone, and this dirty changeup. He outdueled Patrick Corbin, who had 2 Ks in 4 innings, giving up 8 runs, and had this slider for a sword. Pedro Avila had 1 K in 6 2/3 scoreless innings. He had this inside fastball. He faced Michael Lorenzen, who also only had 1 K in 6 innings, giving up 6 earned runs, and had this slider. Kyle Hendricks had 5 Ks in 5 1/3 innings, giving up 4 earned runs. He had this dirty changeup, and here's an overlay of his fastball and changeup. And you can see how when Hendricks is going right, that combination is deadly. As a hitter, you see those pitches coming in, they look identical, and then that changeup just parachutes its way out of the plane of the fastball. Hendricks battled Ryan Walker, who had 2 Ks in 1 2/3 innings and had these two-seamers. Dean Kramer had 5 Ks in 4 2/3 scoreless innings. He had this fastball and cutter, as well as this vicious two-seamer and nasty curveball. He faced Reed Detmers, who had this paintish fastball and this elevated slider, and had 5 Ks in 5 2/3 innings, giving up 2 runs. Zach Eflin had 7 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had this elevated fastball, this painted two-seamer, as well as these sweepers and curveballs. And he faced Cutter Crawford, who had 5 Ks in 3 2/3 innings, giving up 5 runs, and had this fastball, cutter, and slider. Brandon Pfaadt had 4 Ks in 3 2/3 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had these wicked sweepers, which I thought definitely was his best pitch. And he faced Kyle Freeland, who had 2 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 2 runs, and had this dirty curveball. Brandon Woodruff had 6 Ks in 7 innings, giving up only 2 hits and no runs, and he dominated the Pirates mostly with his fastballs. He faced off against Andre Jackson, who had 2 Ks in 4 1/3 innings, but gave up 6 runs, and had this fastball and changeup. Chris Bassett had a solid outing with 7 strikeouts in 8 innings, giving up only 1 run. He had these fastballs and cutters, but his slow breaking balls really stole the show. I love the way Bassett changes speeds as well as shapes on his breaking balls. He's a very creative pitcher. He battled Ken Waldachuk, who had 3 Ks in 6 scoreless innings, and had this changeup and sweeper for a sword. Framber Valdez had 4 Ks in 7 innings, giving up 1 run. He had these nasty curveballs and cutters and changeups, but undoubtedly his filthiest pitch of the night was this 97-mile-an-hour wicked two-seamer. That was probably my filthiest pitch of the night from a starting pitcher. Look how much that thing moves. I overlaid that sinker with Valdez's cutter, and you can see just how filthy that combination is. It's a type of pitch you might swing at while it hits you square in the knee. Alex Faedo had 4 Ks in 2 2/3 innings, giving up 1 run and had these sliders, and he faced yesterday's filthiest starting pitcher of the day, Garrett Cole. Cole didn't even have his best stuff, but still had 7 Ks in 6 innings, giving up only 1 run. His fastball was up to 99, he had these wicked sliders and cutters, and even worked in an elevated knuckle curve. And here's an overlay of Cole's 98-mile-an-hour fastball with his slider. And you can see how those pitches start out tunneled and then diverge. Just a tough combo for a hitter. Now onto my filthiest relievers. Brendan Bernardino had this filthy curveball. Griffin Jacks had these fastballs. Emilio Pagan had this dirty splitter. Reynaldo Lopez had this 99-mile-an-hour heater. Matt Brash had this 98-mile-an-hour fastball and this 89-mile-an-hour slider that I overlaid. And that spells trouble for hitters. Tanner Scott had this slider and 99-mile-an-hour paint. Pete Fairbanks picked up 3 Ks on these heaters. Jonathan Loizaga had this flaming cheese that ran 18 inches back to the plate. Shintaro Fujinami had these 100-mile-an-hour heaters and wicked splitters. He does have absolutely filthy stuff, and then gets a fist bump from Adley Rutschman. But my filthiest reliever of the day yesterday was Ryan Helsley. Helsley had this 102-mile-an-hour gas, and then this dirty slider. Looks pretty much like prime Ryan Helsley right now. And now, my Pitching Ninja moment of zen. It's an immaculate reception. This is why you bring your glove. What an amazing reaction to catching that ball.
I've tried them all, I really have. And the only church that truly feeds the soul day in, day out is the Church of Baseball.
What is up, everybody? My picks of the day today are a 3-leg parlay. I'm going to start with Hyunjin Ryu for 5 Ks or more, then take Logan Gilbert for 6 Ks or more, and top it off with Spencer Strider for 9 Ks or more. What would your picks of the day be?